Christianity in Kerala has a long legacy of 2 millennia, and this land owes greatly to Saint Thomas for such an early germination of Christianity. And this wonderful abode of God is one of the oldest of its kind. This venerable pilgrim center of Mother Mary stands high as a crown atop the town of Kuravilangadu. The church, as per the ecclesiastical nomenclature, is known as Major Archiepiscopal Marth Mariyam Archdeacon Pilgrim Church. The grandeur of this name itself signifies the significance of this great pilgrim center. This church is one of the most favorite destinations of devotees of Mother Mary. See the richly clad altar of the church, its affluent sculptures, its grand paintings. The central atrium, the pillared hall, becomes the prayer hall of this church, and its construction, its architecture, is reminiscent of European Gothic style. You can feel the touch of medieval architecture here. See the coffered ceiling, these colorful paintings. See, all these colorful paintings represent major events in the life of Jesus Christ and Mother Mary. It was a custom always of the medieval times to paint in major events from Bible. It acted as a visual Bible for the illiterate devotees of the time. And when they gathered here for offerings and prayers, when they looked up to the roof, they felt that they were looking up to the high heavens. It should have really electrified their emotions and elevated them to an ecstatic state. And they might have felt the presence of the God Almighty there. See this grand coffered wooden ceiling high on the roof and the tasteful carvings on it. And here you see the graceful statue of Mother Mary holding infant Jesus. Being here in this calm, serene, and peaceful atrium, you can breathe in the heavenly peace. While standing here, I am thinking back to 1st century AD, and I am imagining how the devotees of that time flocked here to palpate the presence of God. Moving eastward through the precincts of the church, we will reach here. This is where the very first apparition of Mother Mary happened in the world. It was sometime around the later part of the 1st century AD. The apparition was to a small group of thirsty shepherds who were rearing their sheep through the hillocks here. Possibly goats, as sheep are not common in this part of the world. And the legend says that Mother Mary appeared to them and divined this spring by removing the soil from the ground with her own hands. You can see the spring still active here as a proof of divine providence. See the grand courtyard of the church and the majestic stance the church has in the town of Kuravilangadu. And here in a corner of the precinct you can see this Vadyapura, which is an enclosure for storing musical instruments, which were an inevitable part of the festal ceremonies of this great church. This is a grotto of Mother Mary, another majestic work of art you can find in this campus. This paved road amid the meadows leads to the churchyard. See the grandeur of the building from this side also. And this becomes a representation of the birth of Jesus Christ. And here you can see people pouring oil on an oil lamp as a gesture of courtesy and faith to Mother Mary. The church courtyard is grand and it comprises of two separate church buildings. As you see here, this is the Cheriyapalli, an independent construction which stands a level high from the main church building. This minor church, called Cheriyapalli in vernacular, has been the private chapel of Bishop Alexander Parambil, called Chandi Parambil, the first bishop of St. Thomas Christians from Kerala. Before that, only foreigners were appointed as bishops. This church is consecrated in the name of Saint Sebastian. See the majestic altar and the sanctuary of this church. The relic of Saint Sebastian is kept here. It is embedded within the statue of Saint Sebastian at the sanctuary of this church. See the lavishly carved wooden ceiling. And in every inch of this church you can see the lavishness of woodwork. Here by the side there is a classic belfry which houses the largest church bells in Asia. This belfry was built in 1910 and houses three massive bells which could produce a wonderful church chime. These giant bells were brought from Hamburg, Germany, and installed here in 1911. These three giant bells, which chimed in heptatonic scale, weigh on an average of 1 ton each. The peal of church bells has a key role to play in creating the auditory ambience of a church. Holding the legacy and history of Christianity from 2 millennia, this great church stands high, looking at the town of Kuravilangadu.